All right, today we're going to be talking about using Pixlr Editor, which is a great alternative to Adobe Photoshop. It has a lot of the same features that Photoshop does. It doesn't do quite as much as Photoshop can do, but it is free. So that's why we're going to learn how to use it in here. First thing to kind of know, because it is free, you will have ads. Unfortunately, you can't get rid of those. It sort of shrinks your working space, but that is just part of using free programs like this. So when you first come to the website, you will be greeted with this window that asks you basically what you want to do to begin. Most likely, you will either choose this create a new image or open an image from your computer. If you are just starting from scratch, you've never done any of this before, you would click create a new image. If you have been working on something that you saved previously and you want to continue to work on it, then you would open your image from computer. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just click create a new image just to get myself going. You can give it a name, you can change the size of it if you'd like. I'm just going to click OK to get us started. Okay, so you've got a workspace here. This is basically where you draw, this is big white area, and then you've got a bunch of other things that are going on. So to get us started, one thing to notice is over here where it says tools. Basically, your tools are all the things that you can use to do different things to your space or to your image that you're working on. We will probably use a lot of these drawing tools that allow you to basically design. The tools in this section are mostly photo editing tools that you probably won't use a whole lot for the projects that we do for graphic design. But perhaps for other things you might use those. And then of course down here we've got a type tool. You'll probably use that for the stuff you're working on in here as well. So to get us started, I'm actually going to click on this pencil tool to sort of show you how this works. If I click on the pencil tool, then I can draw with the pencil. Basically you do whatever tool you've got. So I've got my pencil tool, so I can draw a few things here. Now, you'll notice right away, it actually looks like kind of a real pencil the way it sketches it out. That's because up here across the top, it shows me all the properties for the tool that I am currently using. It says that I'm using the sketchy pencil. If I click on this little menu, I have a few different types of pencils that I can use. It was defaulted to be on sketchy, so that's what it did. It also was defaulted to be a size 1. If I would like my pencil to be larger, I can make it larger, and you can kind of see how it already made it a little bit bigger. I can also change the opacity. The opacity is basically how see-through or not it is. If it's 100 opacity, that means it's not going to be see-through. The smaller the number, the more see-through it is. And then the amount, this is basically like a pressure, is set to be 50. So also you'll notice that the pencil looks basically like the real color of an actual number 2 pencil. That's because that down here at the bottom it is set to be black. If I would like to change my main color, I can click on that square or rectangle here, and then I have a bunch of options for colors I can use. I can choose something on this wheel if I would like to choose something on the wheel. Or if I can click over here in web, and it gives me just a nice variety of colors. I'm going to click on this blue here and click OK. And now see, if I draw with my pencil, I'm getting a blue line. Okay, so your color is what's this in this box down here. You also can, there's a bunch of different other things you can use to draw. There's a paintbrush. Again, anytime you click on a tool, it's going to change what the properties are up here. So always notice if you click on something and you don't really like the way it's looking or working, most likely you can change it up here. Almost everything in this program is customizable. That's why we want to play with it and just spend some time learning and getting to know it. All of your different options are up here at the top that can change the way that tool is working. Now, one thing you might also use quite a bit of is this one that's a shape tool. This allows you to create squares, circles, lines, things like that. It's going to fill the shape or keep it empty inside, but that's a nice tool to use also for graphic design. Now down here at the bottom we have our type tool, which you can also use to add words or letters to your design if you need that. So if I click on my type tool, I just get a little cursor, and which allows me to type. So if I were to type my last name, now it just added that in here. You can change the font. There's lots of different options for font. Actually, there's really not a whole lot. I'm going to highlight my name and then select on the font, and it changed it. You are pretty limited to fonts. You don't have nearly as much as you might have in, say, Google Docs or something like that. But you can change it nonetheless. Change your size, you can change your alignment, color, things like that. We'll just click OK. All right, so a couple other things to notice over here on the right-hand side. The first thing is you have a navigator. Your navigator does exactly that. It allows you to navigate through your work. If you see, notice here you've got little mountains here, and you've got big mountains over here. So if you click on this little rectangle in the middle and drag it over towards the big mountains, that means your image is going to get larger, or basically you're zooming in. You're zooming out or you're zooming in, okay? Now the nice thing is when you kind of move it around, here in your little preview, you'll notice there's this little red box, and that's showing me what I am exactly zoomed in on. So if I want to get, say I want to add some little details to my name, if I click on that box and drag it up to my name, now I'm zoomed in on just my name. Okay, so that's kind of a nice feature, especially if you need to kind of come in and come out or do some detail kind of work. Now down here underneath your navigator are your layers. Now layers are a really important thing to try to understand. A lot of people don't understand layers very well. I'm going to zoom out. But it's really important to kind of get how this works. Now think of it as if you were just sort of layering pieces of paper on top of each other. And sometimes when you're designing, you need things to be able to work independent of other things. So say I wanted to move just this one kind of thicker grayish blackish line around. It's on the same layer as all this other stuff. So it cannot move independent of anything else. It's sort of stuck there. My name, though, because I added that as text, anytime you add text, it goes in as its own layer. So you can see that I have a layer that's my name, and then I have a layer that's my background, which is basically everything else. So if I click on the layer that's my name, then that means that's the layer I'm working on right now. Okay. If I come up here and I click on this arrow tool so I can move things around, I can click and move my name anywhere around, and it moves independent of the background because it is its own layer. Now, if I wanted to have a layer that was, some other lines that I could move independent of the background, I would need to click here. This is my new layer button. It looks kind of like a piece of paper. Now I've got layer 2. It's a layer all by itself. And then maybe I come back over to the pencil. I'd sketch some lines, okay? And then I decide, okay, I need to move that around. If I click on my arrow tool here, that layer now is a layer all by itself. It moves independent of everything else. I can also think, oh wait, I really don't like that line. Let's get rid of it. Or maybe let's just hide it for the time being. If I click on this little check mark to the right of the name of the layer, it just sort of hides that layer for the time being. Maybe I need to hide my name. I can click on that check mark, and now that layer is gone too. It's not actually gone, it's just hidden. So that's kind of a nice feature if you need to work on something and you don't want to be distracted by those other layers. Okay, but the nice thing is building things in layers allows you to work on different elements separate from each other. When I drew all that stuff at the beginning, it all just went on my background. So I can't change that without just getting rid of the whole thing or sort of continuing to alter what's there. But if I had, each of these lines on its own layer, I could get rid of one or move one or kind of deal with it independent of the other. Okay. The other thing down here is your history. Now the history is really nice because it allows you to sort of go backwards in time if you need to do that. You'll notice the last thing I did was I moved something. Okay. Before that it says I used the pencil tool. Before that it says I made a new layer. If I want to go backwards in time, I can just kind of click on these things and it sort of undoes different things that I've done. Or if I want to see, oh wait, what did I use to make this? You can kind of go up and sort of play with your history and see what you did. Now, if I decide, oh, wait, I want to go back to where I was originally, if I go back to the very end, now I'm back to the very end. Okay, so that's your history. The last thing to know really quick is here when you're finished, you're ready to save, you click on File, you click on Save. If you would like to continue to edit your image, you need to format your image to be a PXD. That will keep the layers separate. It doesn't matter if layers are separate to you. Save it as a JPEG, click OK, and you're good to go. And that's Pixlr Editor in 8 minutes.